Hey, this is me, Myron Golden. Listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not theory, it's not guesswork, it's truth backed by evidence, experience, and execution. Most people don't fail because they're not smart enough or because they're not working hard. They fail because they're aiming at nothing. And when you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. Clarity is the launch pad of success. Until you know exactly what you want, you can't build momentum. You can't drive toward a goal that doesn't exist. Vague desires produce vague results. Specificity births strategy. If your goals are unclear, your progress will be inconsistent. Clarity creates acceleration because it removes hesitation. When you're not sure where you're going, you second guess every step. You move slowly. You stop to ask for directions every 5 minutes. But when the target is defined, you can run toward it with confidence. You don't need to pause to wonder if you're on the right path, because the destination is burned into your mind. When you have clarity, your brain starts filtering the world through a different lens. Opportunities that match your vision stand out. Distractions are easier to ignore. People who don't align with your mission naturally fall away. Clarity sharpens your internal radar. It filters noise and amplifies signals. It turns chaos into focus. Most people waste years of their lives pursuing goals they never question. They chase someone else's definition of success. They follow the crowd, climb ladders that lead to roofs they don't even want to be on. But clarity forces you to ask hard questions. What do you actually want? Not what looks good, not what sounds impressive. What ignites your soul. Clarity isn't just about knowing what you want, it's also knowing what you don't want. It's about having the strength to say no to good things so you can say yes to the right things. A clear vision gives you the courage to walk away from options that dilute your destiny. It gives you a filter for decision making. If it doesn't serve the vision, it doesn't deserve your attention. Without clarity, you'll find yourself constantly starting over. You'll try one thing, then another, always searching, never settling. You'll move in circles and call it progress. You'll confuse activity with achievement. But the moment you define your destination, your path becomes obvious. You don't need to keep wandering, you just need to walk. Clarity allows you to plan in reverse. You can take your end goal and break it down into milestones, then break those milestones into daily actions. Every morning you wake up knowing exactly what to do. You're not reacting, you're executing. Your schedule reflects your priorities. Your time has purpose. Your energy has direction. It's easy to look at successful people and assume they're gifted, lucky, or connected. But more often than not, what separates them is focus. They knew what they wanted, they committed to it, and they refused to be distracted. Clarity gave them the edge. It wasn't talent alone, it was precision. Their steps were aligned with their vision. People with clarity don't need motivation. They run on mission. They don't need to be pushed. They're pulled by purpose. They get up early, stay up late, and endure setbacks because they're obsessed with the outcome. Clarity fuels passion. It makes hard work meaningful. It turns discipline into devotion. Clarity speeds up decision making. When you know where you're going, the right choice is obvious. You don't need to consult 10 people or second guess yourself for days. You can say yes or no with confidence. You stop procrastinating because you understand the cost of delay. Indecision dies in the presence of purpose. Clarity simplifies your goals. You stop chasing everything and start mastering something. You become dangerous in your lane. You go deep instead of wide. You build expertise, you build results, and eventually you build legacy. You're no longer scattered, you're strategic, you're not busy, you're effective. When you get clear, your energy consolidates. You stop leaking power on irrelevant things. You stop wasting mental bandwidth on hypotheticals and regrets. Your mind becomes a weapon, not a war zone. You stop fighting yourself and start backing yourself. Your internal dialogue shifts from what have I failed to what do I need to do next. Clarity creates consistency. It creates patterns. It allows you to show up the same way every day because you're driven by the same vision. You don't need to reinvent yourself every month. You're building momentum. You're stacking progress. Every day compounds. Every win builds on the last. You're not chasing motivation. You're moving on rhythm. The speed at which you succeed is directly tied to the clarity of your vision. The clearer the target, the faster you move. The faster you move, the sooner you fail forward. The sooner you fail forward, the quicker you learn. Clarity compresses time. It turns 5-year goals into 1-year accomplishments. When you don't know what you want, you become vulnerable to distractions. The world will always offer you an agenda. The world will always tell you what to care about. But if you don't own your vision, someone else will rent your life for their dream. Clarity puts you in control of your future. It puts your hands on the steering wheel. The lack of clarity creates anxiety. Confusion is paralyzing. When your mind is foggy, your spirit grows tired. You start to wonder if it's even worth trying. But when the fog clears, energy returns. Your eyes open. Your heart races. Your body aligns with your beliefs. You start to feel alive again. That's the power of purpose. Clarity gives you conviction, and conviction is louder than opinion. People may question your methods, they may doubt your timing, but they won't be able to shake your belief because your mind is already living in the future you're building. You don't need applause. You've already approved the vision. Clarity attracts support. When people see you're serious, when they see you're not guessing, not hoping, not dabbling, they want to be part of the movement. Investors, partners, clients, and followers respond to certainty. Vision creates velocity, and people follow momentum, not potential. Words are not just tools of communication, they are instruments of creation. Every word you speak carries power. Power to build or break, power to elevate or eliminate. Your words are not neutral, they are seeds, and every seed produces after its kind. You can't plant doubt and expect confidence to grow. You can't speak fear and expect faith to flourish. What you say consistently, you will eventually see. The atmosphere of your life is created by the language you use. If you walk around saying, I can't, I'm not good enough, this never works for me, you are constructing invisible walls that trap your potential. Those words may sound like harmless expressions of frustration, but they are in fact declarations to your subconscious, and your subconscious obeys. It takes what you say as orders and begins to build your reality accordingly. Most people speak their circumstances, but people of power speak their vision. They don't echo the present, they declare the future. Instead of saying, I'm broke, they say, I'm learning how to manage and multiply wealth. Instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, they say, I'm growing into greater capacity. Words are not just commentary, they are commands. They don't describe your world, they define it. The difference between winners and warriors is often found in the way they talk. Winners speak victory even in the face of defeat. They don't deny their problems, but they refuse to glorify them. They acknowledge what's real without surrendering their expectation of change. They speak what they want to see until it becomes what they actually see. They use words as weapons, not wounds. Your brain listens to your mouth. Every time you say something, it gets reinforced in your neural pathways. If you constantly tell yourself you're not good at something, your brain will make sure that's true. It will delete or distort any evidence to the contrary. But when you begin to speak life, even when you don't feel it, your brain starts wiring itself to support that belief. Words change chemistry. They reprogram the narrative running in your head. What you repeatedly say, you start to believe. And what you believe, you begin to act on. And what you act on becomes habit. And what becomes habit eventually shapes your identity. So the words you casually throw around are actually forming the structure of your life. Every I am statement is a blueprint. Say it enough times and you'll live inside it. There is a massive difference between saying I am tired and saying I am recharging. One implies depletion, the other implies restoration. One drains you, the other fuels you. It might sound like semantics, but it's deeper than that. The words you choose become the emotional filter for your experience. They color how you interpret your day and determine how you feel about yourself. Negative language is like poison to progress. When you say things like, this always happens to me, or I can't win, you're not just venting, you're aligning your expectations with failure. You're giving power to patterns that don't serve you. But when you shift your language to empowerment, you disrupt the old cycle. You begin to plant new seeds with your words, seeds that grow into confidence, clarity, and courage. People often underestimate the power of self-talk. They speak to themselves in ways they'd never tolerate from anyone else. They beat themselves up with words. They label themselves with limitations. But self-respect begins with self-speech. Talk to yourself like someone who matters. Speak to yourself as if your future is listening, because it is. When you speak with authority, life starts to obey, not because of magic, but because of alignment. When your words line up with your vision, your actions follow. Your energy changes. You move differently. You walk into rooms with presence. You don't beg for permission. You declare your intention. And the world responds to that level of certainty. You don't have to feel powerful to speak powerfully. In fact, the words you speak during weak moments are the most important. That's when your declarations do the deepest work. That's when you speak not from your strength, but to your strength. You call forth what's buried. You speak to the champion inside, even when the fight feels far away. When you shift your words, you shift your identity. If you've always been the person who says, I'm just trying to get by, it's time to replace that with, I'm learning to thrive. If you've said, I'm not good with money, replace it with, I'm becoming a master of my finances. Language is transformation. It's the difference between staying stuck and stepping forward. Your words also influence those around you. Speak fear and you spread fear. Speak doubt and you drain the room. But speak belief and you activate greatness in others. Your voice has the power to be a catalyst, to inspire, to encourage, to empower. Don't use your mouth to multiply problems. Use it to multiply potential. To be aware of the language you allow into your environment. What you listen to becomes what you live with. If people around you are constantly negative, you'll begin to absorb their language and reflect their mindset. Guard your ears as much as you guard your tongue. Surround yourself with voices that lift, not limit. Some people say they're just being realistic when they speak negatively. But realism is not pessimism. Realism acknowledges facts. Pessimism magnifies limitations. Optimism, on the other hand, is not denial, it's defiance. It's speaking life in the face of lack. It's calling things that are not as though they were. It's aligning your words with your future, not your fears. There's a reason leaders, visionaries, and high performers pay attention to their language. They understand the ripple effect. A single declaration can change direction. One sentence spoken in alignment with purpose can shift your emotional state, your thinking patterns, and even your external results. Speak as if everything you say matters, because it does. You may not always control what happens around you, but you can always control what comes out of your mouth. Your words can either reinforce your situation or rewrite it. You can either echo your limitations or declare your liberation. Every sentence you speak is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Choose them wisely. Excuses are dream killers, and they don't show up wearing warning labels. They arrive dressed in logic, coated in reason, and masked as valid explanations. But behind every excuse is a surrender. Behind every reason why you can't is a decision not to try. Excuses are deceptive because they feel justified, but they rob you blind. They steal your time, your effort, and your future. Most people don't recognize excuses as the enemy because they're wrapped in self-protection. Excuses give us something to hide behind. They shield us from the discomfort of failure, from the sting of rejection, and from the weight of responsibility. But what they also do is build invisible cages. The more excuses you make, the smaller your world becomes. Your potential suffocates under the pressure of your own justifications. It's easy to convince yourself that the timing isn't right, that you need more money, more support, more information, or more clarity. But time doesn't wait for perfection. Success doesn't show up when everything is aligned. It shows up when you decide to move despite the mess. Excuses feed the illusion that progress is always around the next corner, when in truth, progress begins the moment you take ownership. There's a difference between a reason and an excuse. A reason acknowledges a reality. An excuse builds a wall around it. You can say, I don't have the money, and leave it there. Or you can say, I don't have the money, so I'll find a way to generate it. The first ends the conversation. The second begins a strategy. One creates paralysis. The other sparks possibility. Excuses are sneaky. They don't always shout, they whisper. They say things like, you're not ready yet. What if you fail? Or someone else is already doing it better. These thoughts seem protective, but they're poisonous. They lull you into a false sense of safety, and before you know it, you've talked yourself out of opportunities that were yours for the taking. Your mind is a master at protecting you from discomfort, but it often does so at the expense of your destiny. Every time you buy into an excuse, you reinforce the belief that growth is optional, that playing small is safer, that waiting is wise. But most of the time, waiting is just fear in disguise. It's not about preparation. It's about procrastination dressed as planning. Excuses multiply. Once you start making one, they grow. You'll find a reason for everything. Why you can't wake up early, why you didn't make the call, why you skipped the gym, why you haven't started the business. It becomes a cycle of self-sabotage. One excuse leads to another, and suddenly you're stuck in a life that doesn't look anything like what you imagine. You have to become ruthless with your own rationalizations. You have to interrogate your excuses. Ask yourself, is this the truth? Or is this a story I'm telling myself to avoid risk? Most people don't lack talent. They lack confrontation with their own comfort. They choose easy over excellence, familiar over freedom, excuses over execution. When you stop making excuses, you start making progress. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about saying, I haven't done it because I chose not to, and then deciding to change that choice. Ownership is the first step to elevation. You can't fix what you won't face. You can't change what you constantly justify. The harsh truth is this: nobody owes you.